This is a story about Ruth and the shawl full of grain. Ruth lived a very long time ago. She was a good woman. She was the daughter-in-law of Naomi. Naomi was the wife of Elimelech. They had 2 sons and lived in an area called Judah, in a town called Bethlehem. There was a great famine which caused the family to move to Moab, where the 2 sons both married local girls and so had Moabite wives. Unfortunately, while they were living in Moab, Naomi's husband Elimelech died, but her sons and daughters-in-law looked after her. After about 10 years of living in Moab, both of the sons died, leaving just the women. And this was at a time when society believed women needed a husband to look after them and provide for them. It was very unusual for the 3 women to be alone. Naomi heard that the famine had ended in her home country and God had provided crops and food for the people. So she decided to head back to Bethlehem, where her relatives would look after her. And her daughters-in-law decided to go back with her. One day they set out toward Judah. "Go back," said Naomi to her daughters-in-law. "Go back to your families. They will look after you and help find new husbands. Go with my blessing. Go with the blessing of my God. You have been good to me and my sons. May God bless you with new homes and good husbands. It's what you deserve." Then Naomi kissed her daughters-in-law goodbye. But the girls were very upset and they all cried together. They'd been in the family together for 10 years and they didn't want to see Naomi set off on her own. "We'll come back with you," they said. "No," replied Naomi. "Go home to your families where you belong." Eventually one decided to stay in Moab, but the other, Ruth, was very fond of Naomi and really wouldn't leave her. "Where you go, I will go," Ruth said to Naomi. "Don't make me leave you. I want to be with you, with your God and your people. I'm really sure about this. Please let me come with you." So Ruth headed back to Judah with Naomi. When they arrived back in Bethlehem, the people there recognised Naomi. "Is that really you?" they asked. "Yes, it's me, Naomi," she replied. "I've come back. I had everything I wanted when I left here, but now I have nothing. Everything is gone. God has been against me." Naomi and Ruth came to Bethlehem just as the barley harvest was taking place. This was a good thing because Naomi knew someone related to her husband Elimelech who owned land, and the relative was called Boaz. At that time it was common practice to glean in fields at harvest time, and that meant going into the harvested fields to pick up any grain that had been left behind after harvesting. Because the harvesting was done by hand, it was easy to miss a few bits of grain here and there, and poor people were allowed to go out into the field after the harvesters and keep whatever they could find. Ruth said to Naomi, "I'm young and fit, we need grain. I'll go out into the fields and see what I can find so that we can make bread and have something to eat." "That's a good idea," said Naomi. "A distant relative, Boaz, owns some land. See if you can find his fields, just in case there's any trouble. As you are a Moabite, they might not recognise you." Ruth went out into the fields behind the harvesters and gleaned as much grain as she could find. By chance, she found one of the fields belonging to Boaz, and a little while later, he came into the field to speak with the harvesters. "Greetings," said Boaz. "Do you know who that woman is?" he asked the harvesters. "I've not seen her before." "Well," said the foreman, she's a Moabite. She came here with Naomi, who used to live here some years ago. She came to ask me if it was okay to glean in the fields, and I saw no reason to object. In fact, she's been here all day. She's a hard worker." Boaz went to speak with Ruth to find out more about her. "Hello," said Boaz. "I'm happy for you to glean in these fields. They are my fields, so don't bother to go anywhere else. Stay here and work with my women workers, the ones who follow after the harvesting men. You'll be safe with them and they'll look after you. And don't forget, there are water jars available for the workers, so do make sure to get a drink whenever you need one." Ruth realised she was being treated exceptionally well because she was a stranger in the land of Judah. So she bowed to Boaz and asked him, What have I done to be treated so well? You have no idea who I am. I'm a foreigner here. You've been so kind to me." "Oh, yes, you are a foreigner," replied Boaz, "but I have heard good things about you. Naomi is a good woman who was well liked in this community before she went away. The people here know how you've both suffered loss, and we know you came back with Naomi to her people and her God. You left your own country, your own family to be with her. So I hope that God, our God, the God of Israel, blesses you for what you have done, for staying with Naomi and looking after her when she needed it. Now I'm just doing my bit to try to make you welcome in our country and to repay you for looking after Naomi." "Well, you are too kind," said Ruth. "I really don't deserve it. I'm not even a servant and you're treating me so well. Thank you." When it was mealtime, Boaz had made sure that Ruth had a break and some food, more than enough food. And as she had some left over, she set aside some to take home to Naomi. Boaz gave orders to his men to make sure there was plenty of grain for her to find as she gleaned, not to bother her if she strayed from where she should be, and maybe even leave a few stalks of barley deliberately for her to collect. Boaz moved on to his other fields and Ruth carried on gleaning. At the end of the day, everyone took their grain home and Ruth had a really good amount from her work in the fields. When she arrived home, Naomi was very pleased with the amount of grain because it meant they could make bread and wouldn't go hungry for several days. Naomi realised this was an impressive amount of grain and asked Ruth how she managed such a good result. "Where did you go? How did you manage to get so much? May God bless the owner of the fields because someone has been taking care of you today." "Oh yes," said Ruth. "Actually, someone definitely was. His name was Boaz. He made me very welcome and he couldn't have been more helpful to me." "Well, praise God," exclaimed Naomi. "He's a relative of my husband, and as such, according to our customs, because of what has happened to me and to you, he has a duty to look after us, but he really has gone out of his way to do so today. He's helped you directly, but he's helped me and my husband too." "Oh," said Ruth, "I almost forgot. He asked me to come back and work with his women workers till his fields are finished and they're all harvested." "Well, that's great news," said Naomi. "Do go back to work there again." So Ruth went back to work in Boaz's fields with his women workers. She continued to do so until all the barley was harvested, and after that until all the wheat was harvested. She stayed working with the women and living with Naomi. Now this was all fine, but Naomi was worried that Ruth should have a husband to look after her, and preferably that it should be Boaz, since he was a relative and had an obligation to the family. So Naomi told Ruth what to do. "Go and make yourself look good, even more amazing than you usually do. Bathe, wear perfume, definitely wear your best clothes. You are going on a rather different and very special date. When you're ready, head to the threshing floor, and that's where Boaz will be. Hide yourself, let him finish working. Wait until he's had some food and drink and is relaxing. He might even fall asleep. Go lie down close to him. Don't do anything else. He'll know what's going on and how he needs to behave." "Okay," said Ruth. "I'm not sure I fully understand. Your customs are different to ours. But I like Boaz. He's been kind to me. And I love you, and I will do whatever you tell me to do." So Ruth got herself ready, looked and smelled amazing. She went to the threshing floor. She saw Boaz, but kept herself hidden so no one knew she was there. As the workers left for the night and Boaz had his evening meal, she watched, and then he went to lie down and fell asleep, and Ruth went quietly to lie down near to him in the dark. In the night, Boaz woke up and found someone lying near him. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" asked Boaz in the darkness. "I am Ruth," replied Ruth. "I am your servant. I am doing what Naomi told me to in following the customs of your people." "I understand," said Boaz. "Go back to sleep since it's dark, but make sure you go before it gets light. It's really important that no one finds you here." "Yes, it's true. I have a family obligation to Naomi and Elimelech, but I'm not their closest relative. We need to talk to the man who is. I'll deal with all of that. Give me your shawl." Boaz put a large quantity of grain into the shawl for Ruth to take back to Naomi. "What happened?" asked Naomi when Ruth returned with the shawl of grain. "Oh, Boaz gave me the grain," replied Ruth. "He's told me of another, closer relative who should be looking after us, but Boaz is going to sort things out. He made sure I brought this grain back to you." "Well, that's good," said Naomi. "Boaz is a good and fair man. He will arrange to have the land which Elimelech owned passed on to the other relative if at all possible, and you will soon have a husband as part of the deal too." The next day Boaz went to the city gate, where all community matters were discussed and business was transacted in front of witnesses. Boaz met the other close relative and the two men started to discuss matters. Boaz opened the conversation. "Naomi has come back from Moab and owns the land that belonged to Elimelech. Now you have first choice to buy it from her, as is our custom. Do you want to buy the land?" "Well, yes, of course I do," said the close relative. "You do realise," said Boaz, "you will also be expected to marry Naomi's Moabite daughter-in-law too, if you take the land." "That makes it more difficult," said the other relative. "I don't think that would work for me. It would make my estate too complicated and I might lose everything else." "No, you buy the land. You marry the girl." "Okay," said Boaz. "Listen up, people," he said as he addressed the rest of the townspeople at the town gate. "We have just reached an agreement and I want you all to be witnesses. This man cannot buy Elimelech's land from Naomi. He is happy for me to do so and also to marry Ruth, the Moabite woman. I want to buy the land and marry Ruth and make sure the family name is carried on in this area, and I would like you all to acknowledge that I can do so." And the townspeople agreed. "Yes, go ahead. We are witnesses," they said. "It's a good thing you are doing. May you be blessed. May you both have a happy and blessed life together. Many children. May your family become famous in this town." So Boaz bought the land and married Ruth. A little while later, Ruth had a baby boy. He was named Obed. In time, Obed too would have a son called Jesse. And in time, Jesse too would have a son called David. But for now, the townswomen congratulated Naomi, and Naomi was finally able to hold her grandchild, the one she had longed for, as all grandmothers do.